Okay, ladies and gentlemen, may I ask you to stand, please? Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. And Honorable John Boyle, Minister for Agriculture. Honorable Minister for Oil, Mr. Francis Manican. Thank you.
So over the right.
Over here. The three gentlemen from the private sector, please. Mrs. Franklin, Mr. Boyd Derrick, and Mr. Farrell, please. Mr. Farrell, by coming. Oh, he's coming. All right. You finish, you come. Right, Prime Minister and your two good ministers, please, you can sit down now, sir, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and a privilege to receive you in Lay again. We have gone through the, it's a conference and it's a discussion between Department of Agriculture and us, the civil society and private sector. And I said that it's important to have this type of dialogue to help our country along. So we are happy that you have made an effort to turn up among your many different responsibilities and commitments. So we thank you for your time today, sir. Honorable Prime Minister. So without further ado, we'll go through the program. The first minister to speak is Mr. Honorable John Boyle, National Minister for Agriculture, and a member for Opera Wanenara. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Prime Minister, Honorable. Thank you, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape. Minister for Welcome. Honorable Manake. Distinguished guests. Representatives from government and the private sector, development partners, ladies and gentlemen. Prime Minister, before I go through the speech, on behalf of Agriculture Department, Livestock Minister, Coffee Minister, and Oil Palm Minister, with all the community boards and the stakeholders of agriculture in the country, I humbly stand before you and salute you for the way forward, your vision for agriculture in this country. Let us give a round of applause. It is a great honor for me to stand before you this morning to officially close the National Agriculture Sector Public-Private Partnership Conference, hosted here in the industrial west of City of Lae, Morobe Province. Over the last 5 days, from the 7th to the 11th of April, we have come together with one shared purpose: to explore and strengthen partnership that will drive agriculture growth in Papua New Guinea. This conference, under the term being driving agriculture growth through public-private partnership, could not be more timely or more prevalent. It has highlighted once again that the future of agriculture in Papua New Guinea depends on strong collaboration between the public sector and the private sector. Let me begin by sincerely thanking the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape, MP, for gracing us with his presence. Prime Minister, we know how full your schedule is, and your decision to join us here in Lae reflects your deep commitment to agriculture and to the people who depend on it every day. On behalf of everyone present, thank you very much. To our partners in the private sector, I commend you for the critical role you continue to play. You are the agencies of investment, innovation, and employment in this industry. Your efforts across the value chains from farm gate to export are driving not only agricultural growth, but also contributing meaningfully in the broader economy of Papua New Guinea. Agriculture is the backbone of our rural communities. It supports livelihood, ensures food security, and provides the bulk of our non-resources export. When we strengthen agriculture, we are not only strengthening our economy, we are strengthening the foundation of our nation. I also want to express deep appreciation to the Department of Agriculture and Livestock under the capable leadership of Secretary Dr. Sergio Bang. Your leadership, that of your team, have made this conference possible. Congratulations. To the CEOs and managers of our community board, thank you for your continued leadership and collaboration. Your insight and your dedication to the sector are greatly appreciated. Thank you. A special thank you also to CMIC, who have diligently recorded and compiled conference notes at the end of each season. Over the past 5 days, your efforts ensure that what has been shared and discussed here will be captured, remembered, and actioned. The many private sector representatives who joined us, thank you, your participation and your willingness to openly share the realities of doing businesses in the agriculture service is what given true value to this conference. We are showing the issues and challenges raised have been taken seriously and have been noted by Secretary Dr. Bang and our agriculture government team. These matters will be presented to the Prime Minister for his consideration and necessary action. This conference has reminded us of that partnership are not just possible, they are essential. Public-private collaboration must be the foundation of which we build a modern, resilient, and inclusive agriculture sector. As we wrap up this important national event, let's take with us the spirit of cooperation that has filled this venue. Let's take action on the commitments we've made, and most importantly, let's continue working together, government and private sector, to unlock the full potential of agriculture to Papua New Guinea, in Papua New Guinea. Thank you all once again for your dedication, your contributions, and your commitment to the future of agriculture in this country. God bless you all, and God bless Papua New Guinea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister for Agriculture. It's a positive statement that you've given us, and we'll take it on board. Collaboration between our Department of Agriculture with our private sector. Thank you again for your time, National Minister for Agriculture, for your speech. Now we're going to move on to Minister for Oil Palm, Honorable Francis Maneke. Please, could you step up to the podium to give your speech? Tell us about oil palm. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, Mr. Honorable James Marape, who is here today, please give him. I want to acknowledge Honorable Don Boyko, Mr. Minister for Agriculture. And the Secretary for Agriculture, Dr. Ram is here with the executives. The CEO of the commodity board, the staff, and also our development partners who are in the meeting tonight, this morning. So as our very important guests who are here to make sure that this very conference is productive. Firstly, I'd like to commend the government for identifying and also considering agriculture as an important department in Papua New Guinea. The way forward for our country is agriculture. Our economy will only be boosted when we emphasize and also concentrate more in agriculture. And I'd like to commend the Honorable Prime Minister for the decision in government that is made today to make sure that there is important commodities split in our government and make sure there is specific concentration on these very important commodities. They are coffee, oil palm, and livestock. I commend him for having to see that there is potential in these very important areas. And having no capacity in this country, if only we can see the importance of these very specific commodities or boards, we can be able to see very important way forward in our country. Most importantly, today I'd like to seek support from the government in regard to what's already been separated in this country. The agriculture sector must be funded so that we can be able to deliver what's important for our people in this country, so as our rural areas. These very important commodities must be very well supported. And now, under the Welcome Ministry, I'd like to commend the Prime Minister specifically to take me on board as a Minister for Welcome. As you know, welcome is the only commodity or the crop that has been sustained from 1960s up until today. Very well supported by private sector. And I commend the Agriculture Department having to see this important for them and to make sure that there is collaboration in a way to see development way forward for our country in terms of our economy. And the partnership between private sector and our commodity boards today is very important. That is why I commend the government of Papua New Guinea to see the importance of how we can be able to support in terms of finance these very important commodities. We have cacao, we have coffee, we have oil palm, we have all other commodities in this country, and it has to be well supported so that we can be able to see our way forward. We know there is already support into the infrastructure sector in terms of roads in Papua New Guinea, and we know Connect PNG is one of the agendas of our government. Under the agriculture sector, we want to also have a mobilized support in terms of funding so that we can be able to see bigger effect in the industry or in the agriculture sector. It's only agriculture that will deliver a potential economy for our country. Apart from agriculture, we cannot do any better agendas in this country. So today, I commend the government for the continuous support for all the agriculture sector commodities in this country. And we know very well cocoa is now fetching good price. But the important thing is for us as a government to support this specific commodity so that we can be able to mobilize and also introduce to the rural population so that we can have a maximum volume of the production in terms of cocoa. So as coconut coconut, there is so much of new development. And I commend the coconut board for supporting the industry and sustaining it. The reason is because coconut is a rural community industry, and that can be done by a rural community population. So I'd like to stress a little bit on the oil palm sector. The oil palm sector today, after 50 years, there is no policy, and there is no regulation, and there is no legislation that covers the industry. And it is being driven by private sector, and I commend companies in Papua New Guinea. Liberty Palm Oil Limited, Agri Oil Palms, and the rest of the companies that is now involved in the development of oil palm in the country. And we know very well there is only an act that is established since then. It's only the smaller act. And it's only the act that guides the extension service provided for the development of oil palm in Papua New Guinea. And there is no other law or legislation that covers in detail as to how we have to develop, we have to manage, and guide the volume of production as well as the market in Papua New Guinea. But I commend the Honorable James Marape and the government for making sure that we have a policy, and already we produced a first national oil palm policy for our Papua New Guinea. And the legislation that is going to be mobilized today and packaged, we must know very well that the land is important in Papua New Guinea. In order to access opportunities in our rural areas and to access people's customary land, we must be able to incorporate the land together with the development of oil palm and so as to the market. I commend the milling companies for sustaining the industry itself and so as guiding a better pathway for our market, entering the European market and so as the Asian market as well. But a very important thing today, because of the standards that is developed in the country, we must continue to make sure that our developments are very well guided by the certification of the best practices, environmentally based, so that we can be able to attract premium prices for the oil palm. Anyway, today, in order to develop oil palm, we must make sure that the involvement of our provincial governments, the landowners, so as our development partners must be done properly. The established development that is done today is done without any proper records in our provincial administrations or district administration. That is why today we really want to make sure that there is proper dialogue with our landowners, our growers, our provincial government, and our government, so that we can be able to align the development and considering the importance of land, which is still customary land, and also the best practices that we have to develop in our country. The customary land must now be attended to specifically, so that we can open up opportunity to all the land, customary land in Papua New Guinea. Now the target is Morobe, Madang, East and West City, Central Province, and also Gulf and Western Province. Why I'm saying this? The importance of provincial government involvement is to make sure that the provincial administration, together with their people, must start making proper decisions as to how they have to release their customary land. And I believe that this forum have already discussed some important issues in regards to customary land and how we can be able to access in terms of development in agriculture. And that is the way forward. And we must start immediately. If we don't do, we have a very serious problem. Regardless of how the government really wants us to develop the oil palm, not the oil palm, but the agriculture sector, we seriously have to see how we release land from our people, especially in the rural areas. Oil palm rurally we can develop. And that is where our rural population can be able to be involved and participate. And the total population is the one that matters to our government today. There are very important agenda that we really have to see today as a government are the infrastructure. In this very important commodities already identified and developed and already existing in Papua New Guinea. If it means roads, the government must see to how we can build roads, how we can develop the buildings, how we can develop the research areas. Those are areas that the government must seriously look at so that we can be able to see a better package infrastructure to make sure that each of these commodities are developed in Papua New Guinea. But otherwise, for the oil palm industry, I see that is a very big impact. That is if we want to develop in this very important country. And to start, we are approaching the provincial government so that we sign MOUs. And especially today, because of the land, bring the responsibility of lands department. We also signing with lands department to facilitate access to the land or customary land that belongs to the people and the rural population. And at the same time, the oil palm is more a commodity that has to be certified by the environmental conditions. So we have an alignment with environmental conservation to make sure that we developing with respect to the standards that is established in a country and also condition the European market or other markets for better price. With that report, I'd like to thank this very important forum under the leadership of Dr. Bang, the Agriculture Secretary, and the commodity CEOs who are here today that already established this very important agendas of the resolutions that's now made available for us and for the government to make deliberations and make way forward. And my last message is, Prime Minister, we want all the agriculture commodity boards under the agriculture sector must be supported. And we see a very good impact that is related to this conversation. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Minister for Welcome, Honorable Francis Menake. A lot of things you've said, you've had it discussed. And you need to know that we are emphasizing the District Development Authority and provincial government got to work with Department of Agriculture to move this along. So once again, I'd like to ask for another applause for Honorable Francis Menake for your speech. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to ask the Secretary for Department of Agriculture and Livestock, Sir Zaki Bang, to make his speech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape, Minister of Agriculture, Honorable from Oika, Minister of Oika, Honorable Francis Menake. Thank you. I will be brief. I do want the green private sector reps to have their 5 minutes to say each. Point out here that as per the target set in the medium-term plan 4 and the agricultural sector plan. In order to achieve that, we need commercial agriculture at small scale, medium, and large scale. So we need everyone to work together. In the next 10 years, we have been targeted to raise the agricultural contribution to the GDP to up to 30 billion by the year 2033. We're now sitting at 20. We have to create 1 to 2 million jobs, and at the same time develop 450,000 MSMEs. We have to reduce poverty and malnutrition drastically. They are like our target. On the 4th of March, when we met with our Prime Minister and all our sector ministers, on reporting on agricultural achievements in 2024 of the commodity goals in the Department of Agriculture and Livestock. And the plans for 2025. Our Prime Minister and the ministers put to us in the next 4 years, we have to develop 1 million farmers. And the 1 million farmers, families, 1 million families on agriculture commercialization. Each of the families must spend 10,000 kina a year. In order that this 10 billion additional GDP will be achieved. We have these targets ahead of us. And therefore, commercial agriculture is very important to happen, must happen. Must happen seriously. The agriculture department and the commodity boards on their own cannot do this. The private sector and the provinces and the districts, and indeed the smallholder agriculture of farmers who are now subsistent. We need to convert them into commercial farmers and entrepreneurs. This was the purpose of this week-long dialogue, is for the government sector to meet the private sector and to deliberate on how we can work together to move forward. The Prime Minister and our two ministers in this week-long period, our 11 commodity board sub-sectors have presented their 4-year medium-term plan on how they have planned and everything their program to achieve the targets that have been given to them in the medium-term plan 4. And this was presented in front of the private sector, and they have commented and inputted. So we have, as resolutions, 13 areas or focus areas we have to work on. We have Prime Minister and our two ministers. There are 13 areas we need to look at. We have some points there. Some are points, some are some strategies we feel we can adopt. This is work in progress. Of course, in the next 4 weeks, we want to consult our key government departments, such as the Department of Works, the Department of Lands, the Department of Police, to deal with all these issues that have been put forward. And I'll only mention the big headings, and then allow our private sector colleagues to make their input. And in the order of priority of the 13 focus areas, there's the infrastructure we need to build. There's the land tenure and access we need to improve. The policy and the regulatory framework we have to improve. The financial support, that's very necessary. It can come from both government and banking institutions, including the Green Climate Fund and the World Bank, who have been here throughout the week. The fifth is the research and development key to any country for agricultural progress. We have to work strong on our agricultural extension. We must build capacity and indeed educate the young at every level of education, primary, secondary, to tertiary. We have to put in the syllabus the importance of agriculture for sustenance and for commercial, their own lives, their viability. Market access and price stability. 9, data capture and information dissemination. 10, law and order. 11, governance and coordination mechanisms. 12, collaboration. And 13, the industry development. Prime Minister and our two ministers, we have resolved that the agricultural sector in the next few weeks will meet with the key government departments, the key private sectors again, and then like the provinces and the districts to come, so that together we will find solutions and strategies how to address this 13 focus areas, and a concept note will be developed, at which time we are Prime Minister and will be the ministers, that we will invite you to present that, and then we will put to implementation those solutions and strategies we have developed together. Started with the land department and the work of connectivity and all the relevant partners. We need to work together As people like in the medium take on call, there's a chapter on strategic partnership. Only with strategic partnership will we be able to see our development outcomes that we have planned for. So having said that, thank my talk, Madam Moderator, you can now kindly bring forward the private sector.
Thank you, Mr. Bang, Secretary for Department of Agriculture and Livestock. I think you deserve another big applause from everyone. He was very patient with us for the last 5 days, talking about everything. Not to leave any stone unturned or to leave anyone behind. So we thank you again for your speech. And it's not only the government who's supposed to take on all this information, all of us. You will all get under here. All right, so thank you again, Dr. Bang. We'll now go on to this 3 representatives from the private sector. First one is Mr. Phil Franklin, the General Manager for Mainland Holding, and he's a member for the PNG Chamber of Commerce, Lay Chamber of Commerce, Manufacturers Council. So he's in all these boards that are involved on the very discussions we're talking about. So, Prime Minister, you want to have a dialogue with the private sector? He's one of them. So, Mr. Phil Franklin, we'd like to ask you to come up and address the audience, please, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator and moderators. Thank you. But firstly, good afternoon all, and welcome to our Prime Minister, James Marape, Minister for Agriculture, John Boyhoe, and also Minister for Rural Farming, Francis Waniki. And also thanks Secretary for Agriculture for his words, and as Nellie mentioned in his great perseverance over the last 5 days. I also, at this outset, would just thank the various people behind us get together, Secretary, ministers, and very importantly, the government agencies, Department of Agriculture and the Rural Bank and CIMC for their support. I think looking around this room, there's been a lot of networking and there's a tremendous amount of experience here in agriculture. I estimate it to be almost 1,000 years of experience. So you add up all of our experience here at Papua New Guinea, all the time we've spent talking and helping in agriculture, the energy in this room and the knowledge in this room is immense. So I think it's very good that this document has been produced, and I know with it comes a lot of support. So first up, from the private sector, we acknowledge that the government plays an essential and important role in providing and facilitating the landscape for sustainable investment, and the much captured, much of that has been captured in this paper that's been presented. So I thank the government for putting this together. DAL and its agencies, corporations, commodity boards, we have to prioritise service and support the private sector. And sadly, I think in some cases, investment promotion, which is what we're all about, is often replaced with investment prevention. And this may not necessarily be entirely any particular person's fault or any particular person's commodity issue or whatever, but they may need support, they may need funding. We often hear not got power, not got fuel, no got lots of reasons why we can't get out there and service and support the private sector. So in many ways, the private sector's had to do it by itself. Agriculture needs good policies that in many ways cost the government very little. Policies that help us deliver what we need to the economy and to local communities. I just want to touch on a couple of policies to give you an example. Stanley from Zenag the other day presented us some discussions and thoughts about biosecurity policies, which are really, really important to ensure that we prevent diseases and pests from entering PNG. But these diseases and pests are not here at the moment. We don't have them in Papua New Guinea. We're very, very lucky, and we emphasise that in the poultry industry, there are over 10,000 SMEs we represent that have buy day-old chickens, grow them, sell them, and they do that successfully because the chickens are not challenged by any diseases. And they get results in many cases similar to what the commercial operation would. So we encourage the Department of Agriculture, NAHTIA, to continue to provide that support, and Prime Minister, we encourage the government to fund them. So they can provide that important service to us. And I must compliment the Minister for Agriculture, who has been very active in helping us to re-establish the NAHTIA board, which delivers and implements those regulations and policies. So another example, Prime Minister, is solar power. Many of agricultural entities would like to be able to use solar power more, but currently policies need to be revamped and fast-tracked to ensure that we can do it in a sustainable manner, and we can do it legally. At the moment, the policies and regulations don't allow us to do that. So we've heard from the Secretary an outline of the challenging roles we've got to deal with and present in agriculture. And I know that this has been discussed, but I was to highlight three really important ones that help us: security of land tenure, law and order, and power are probably the three most important ones to really get private sector agriculture moving in greater detail. And I just wanted to compare agriculture to mining. The numbers of blocks and the level of investment we're talking about, Secretary, is no different to a number of mines that we put them together. Look at the assistance that the mining department gets, or miners. They get assistance to help secure their leases. They get assistance to coordinate the landowners. They get assistance with preferential finance and tax regimes. They get assistance with power. They get assistance with law and order. But unfortunately, in many cases, agriculture is on its own. We're out there doing it ourselves. And I'd like, I've said this a few times, I think the time is right to do an agriculture project no differently to a mining project. We have the same things, landowners, we need benefit sharing arrangements, spin-off benefits to the landowners, we need the landowners to be involved. As we've heard, land is what Papua New Guinea is all about, and any business plan here involves landowners. So if we can help facilitate an agricultural type organisation, and secretly, I mentioned a couple there in your paper, which could voluntarily fill that void. I think that would be a great achievement for the government. So as I wind up, I don't want to speak too long here, but I just want to say that the agriculture does not need over-regulating, as we've seen the successful private sector agricultural groups have had to do a lot of it without a lot of government support. And I would say that there are many peak bodies that are always on standby to assist the Department of Agriculture and commodity boards. We largely give our time free, but it's very constructive dialogue, and we often have very positive inputs to your thoughts and ideas, as you would have heard over the last couple of days here. We just need to formalise that process of input and take it down to the provincial level and district levels. So I'm going to conclude now and just say a great week, really well done to everybody who is here. And thank you from the private sector. I thank for the government, representatives here for your input, and let's look forward to, delivering what the outcomes of the conference have been. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin, and thank you for acknowledging, advices from Department of Agriculture and Livestock. And all of us who are this side or private people and private sector people, I'd like to say thank you to the whole lot of you for the last 5 days. And Prime Minister, we would like to say, take it on board. We work together as a team. We will develop Papua New Guinea. And I said this to Dr. Sagan. We need to make sure agriculture is on the same level as education and health when we are talking about policies. So thank you, Mr. Franklin, for your time. I would like now to call upon the group manager for WR Carpenters, Mr. Boyd Dyer, please, to give you a speech. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, all. Minister of Papua New Guinea, Honorable James Marape, Minister for Agriculture, Honorable John Boito, Minister for Oil Palm, Honorable Maneke, Secretary for DAL, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I'd like to say that this week has been a very, very fruitful week for us, especially for me. This is my first time to be involved in something like this, and it's been a very, very fruitful. There's a lot of things we're going to take on. WR Carpenters is involved in cocoa, copra, coffee, tea, balsa, and now we're going into shipping because we feel that our commodities are not getting to where they should go quick enough. So we're now moving into building our own vessels. On the second day of this meeting, I was expecting all the presenters to come up here and say, we're here, this is what we're doing, who would like to partner us? As of yesterday, Madam Executive Chairman for Rubber has come to me and said, listen, would WR Carpenters be interested in rubber? We met. WR Carpenters is now interested in rubber. We are going out. We are going out to the Central Province to have a look and hopefully find a way to support rubber out that way as well. We're also heavily involved in copra. We've just completed our first refinery in Malaysia, obviously due to everything else that's going on. We couldn't bring in the materials that we need, so we completed building our first one in Malaysia. Mr. Mario, the Secretary DAL, MD for KIK will travel to KL, have a look. If all is in order, I will go to Minister Boito, ask for some support so I can bring the refineries into Papua New Guinea and operate them. Everything else that needs to be said is also been mentioned by Phil already. I'm just here to say WR Carpenters has been here since 1919. We are still here. Please come and see us. Let's work together. Let's help the Honorable Prime Minister and his minister and his government build Papua New Guinea together. Thank you, Drew, and God bless.
Thank you, Group Manager for WR Carpenter, Mr. Boyd Dyer. And you know, from this meeting, there has been networking and discussions. So any of you have realized that there is somebody here? Yeah, no. Mr. Farrell, I'll give you the stand there for. I'm sorry. In this first once again. So there's nothing stopping you from networking. We are all here to learn from each other. Thank you again, Mr. Boydare and Namo. All right. Now. Next, Farrell. He's gonna be talking about the Cattle Association. He's our acting president for the Cattle Association. So, Mr. Farrell, it's your turn to talk. You said up there so loud, no talk, okay?
Don't get old and don't fall off of horses. I think, thinking carefully about what I'm supposed to say here. The first thing I'm going to say is what's the scope of the problem? All right. We've got about 10 million people in the country at the moment. It could be 12 million, who knows? With 10 million people on the current demographics, we have somewhere around 4 to 5 million people under the age of 35 living in the rural areas. And we have to remember they are uneducated, they have no employment, and the most damaging thing for them is they have no hope. So that's the scope of the problems that we have to deal with, and I just want to remind everybody of it. Okay, the cattle industry has suffered quite a dramatic decline in numbers over the last 10 years. Up to around about 2015, there would have been somewhere around 70 to 75,000 head of cattle in Papua New Guinea. We were virtually self-sufficient in prime beef. Imports, some small imports coming into the mining camps, and some trim coming in for manufacturing, sausage making. Since 2015, various issues have arisen, and the numbers have dropped dramatically. Part of that was with Trukai Farms. We lost around about 8,000 head from Trukai Farms. We lost around about 9,000 head from Markham Farming when it went back into oil palm. So these aren't problems specifically attached to the smallholders. What we did lose as smallholders was a buying centre. Well, Phil Franklin was at Trukai, I was at Trukai. We were buying around about 1,500 head of animals a year. Some of that was going into live export, 2000 through to 2006. But we provided a market for all the smallholders. We took the rubbish and we took the good stuff, and we arranged markets for it. That was a successful operation. Since then, the government lost the plot, and we are suffering. I'm from Seattle. We've got around about 60, there were about 62 projects in Seattle. Currently, there's probably around 30 active with cattle on them. What are the issues? We want to go back to the situation we were in 2015. What are the factors affecting us? One, we can no longer get finance for the smallholder projects. We can no longer go to the banks with a clan land usage agreement and say, look, we need money to buy bulls or whatever, fencing. That can't happen anymore because of legislation making it impossible. You can't go to a little project and say, oh, you've got to have a clan land usage agreement. That won't work. And going forward, we need to make it possible for smallholders, whether you're on livestock, cattle, sheep, goats, cocoa, you can get finance for 1 hectare of cocoa or up to 250 head of cattle on a clan land usage agreement. For the larger centres, we also need to put in nucleus estates, whether they be oil palm, cocoa, coffee, do that. That opens it up for providing extension services, policing of existing regulations, whatever. Please, we need to get exemptions on tariff. A kilometre of barbed wire fencing requires approximately 18,000 kina to put 1 kilometre of barbed wire fence up. So if you've got 100 hectare project, you're looking at 4 kilometres barbed wire just to the boundary fence. Then you need to divide it up into 6 paddocks. That's a lot of money. I can do the same thing with electric fencing for around about 4,000 kina a kilometre. So we need to get tariffs reduced on all stockyard equipment and fencing materials, whether they be power fencing or whether they be barbed wire. They benefit everybody. And I've lost my list. So we're not in an impossible situation. Law and order is an issue. We need double the number of policemen that we've got at the moment. You're independent, you have 5,500 people. Today you've got 10 million. You had a police population ratio of 1 to 600 at independence. It's around about 1 to 2,500 at the moment. With the law and order situation, we also need to get our village court magistrates supported. We need to bring the district court magistrates through into isolated areas. So there's no district court magistrate for Havel. There's no district court officer for Kaiwa Siasi. And I dare say many of the other districts have got the same problem. If you're close to Lae, it's not an issue. But it's really difficult to get suspects and the witnesses to Lae for court. It doesn't happen. Sorry, I didn't. Well, thank the Prime Minister and the Minister for Agriculture. I forgot all of that. That wouldn't be easy. Look, there are many problems, and if we work together as a team, we can solve those problems. There are issues, sitting down talking, there are issues with Ramupi and LDC. They need to be sorted out. Make them sort it out. You're the boss. We can make it work. Working as a team. With that, I say thank you.
Mr. Farrell, thank you very much for your speech. I'm sure the Prime Minister will take it on board, including law and justice. I think what I want to see is all the districts should have a police barracks, or all police barracks only in town. All the district must have police barracks, and the police should be in the districts. If I can read you right, Mr. Farrell, did you hear that? That's leave the discussion. All right. Mr. Prime Minister, Honorable James Werehead. I think it's a pleasure for the whole lot of us here, an honor that you have come to respond to us on various things that we've discussed. And it's to do with our country and agriculture and economic development. So without further ado, I would like to ask Prime Minister Honorable James Marape to address. Thank you very much. sir.
Thank you, Boss Merit long this important keyboard. Passed through me like look so long. To Secretary Minister, also to my staff. I want to also appreciate Secretary. Dr. For your presence, Dr. Vance. I want to appreciate you, especially the private sector. And I was happy sitting listening to Steve, your presentation. You don't need to acknowledge me. You are more an authority in the sector than I am, so I was pleasantly happy. I kept some of your presentations and I sent off to my government focus for them to have a I may label this the number one man out there, but there's a whole lot of dynamics that happens below me. And sometimes I am equally as frustrated as you are. That is why I really successful. I want to also appreciate Roy and Phil. Thank you for your passion and your commitment representing the private sector. If any of you had picked my line earlier on Monday when I opened the session, I said, let's get the policies out in the cupboard into the front line, let's make it happen. From all of the private sector to run with it, and most of the private sectors who are already in our country. How do we partner them, allow them to go the next mile? So I'm happy to be back and to round up these sessions with some good remarks. It is a privilege and honor for me to come back to be part of a group of Papua New Guineans, whether you're white, black, brown, black, yellow, we all Papua New Guineans, we live here, we have business here. And last night I was in a tourism occasion, and I especially made special mention to people like William's family of the Wallendy Resort in West New Britain, the Carter family in Merang, of course the Bob Bates family. Bob Bates is still around, he was there in the program. With that, with the acknowledgement, I especially made mention on them, because some of us, we are born into this place. Some of them, they choose to be part of us at 1975. And so I want to thank those members who choose to be part of us in 1975, and they've taken along all the way up to the some have gone, but some took the way. And the families still are part of us. This is their country as much as it's our country, and they have contributed significantly to the way we are today, and I really sincerely appreciate those Papua New Guineans of that class. You are here. I want to say, as a government, we are trying our absolute best to really step up and tidy on the way we have carried ourselves, and to get going and to put our country moving on into the right direction. Again, from the outset, let me thank Dr. Bhatt for your contribution and leadership. As you came into the leadership in the sector, you changed the role with your brother, Dr. Charles, and yourself, and take the role. And I want to see both of them here in this role. One now having married, and another one having a casa. And I see the former secretary Mombi here also sitting in the front. It's just awesome I have to see how many Guineans who are all specialists in and have interest in agriculture, not fighting for jobs, but still in the sector, complementing each other. Really want to appreciate that you are not in contest, but you will complementary service to your country in various capacities, your government and your country sought to serve. I want to appreciate the partners of this sessions, CIMC for your engagements and partnership here, World Bank for your partnership in this space, all the private sector. I'm informed here, Janak Chicken, the country partners, Ramu Agro, and all others who are here. Thank you very much for the commitment to this conference. But more importantly, as we work to 2034, the 2033 agricultural sector plan, we must step up now. In 2024 is retired. We will not get it back. We're now in 2025 is the 50th anniversary of our nation's independence, and we must work. We look at how, I think, Fahal just told us earlier, 1975, 3 million people thereabouts. Policemen number and ratio to people were okay. Today, the population is tripled, and the challenges is multiple. And it is in haste that all of us tasked with public policy to really step out and unbundle those policies, unbundle those regulations, so that they could be complementary to private sector and society to grow in our midst. And agricultural sector for me is no secret, all of you know. We arrived in office in 2019, knowing that this was the status quo facing us. The violent economic and social issues facing us. High amongst them was unemployment and engagement by our youth and the restlessness in our society. And knowing that intrinsically we are an agricultural nation. Intrinsically we are a people that is in touch with land, sea, and the culture that is associated with it. And we made it no secret that agriculture will remain and be our key focus and priority. That was the focus we set in 2019. From 2019 to 2021, we went through COVID-19 disturbed us in the middle of this. But when we returned to office in 2022, knowing the downside, and for me having been around since 2007 in government, knowing that the agricultural sector is a big sector, and with a focus on agriculture, we cannot have one minister doing his round on months, all the agencies that is in agriculture. We deliberately split agriculture into four ministries. Minister Boito heads the mainstream agriculture department. Minister Gisa looks after the livestock sector. Minister Manake will do the oil palm sector, and of course Minister Brando in the coffee sector. This was not just arriving one morning and decide to give job to the 4 ministers. It was rather a target to have a leadership lead over specific sectors to ramp up production, replace import, export, to earn from this linking to our people, our farmers, our growers. And so we made this deliberate call. Many thought James Marago was stupid. Well, I may be stupid in some area, but one thing I definitely know is that our people are on land, and people need to be productive. In fact, we've lost national productivity by miles. Lost national productivity by miles. I grew up with my parents' generation who were working for them. Today, government pays free education. Government pays free education, so almost 90% of our people who are on the land have savings already made by government paying their children's school fee. And they have time on hand and they're on the land. And so linking people, land, time to actual productivity. And for us, government and private sector, finding the market or bringing market closer to them. And then supplementing those imports we're importing, as well as ramping up on export, export earnings for our country. I want to say that has been our focus. We have moved some miles in the focus area, but to be honest, not to my liking. World Bank, IMF, ADB, and Central Bank confirms that for the first time in our nation's history, 4 years in a row, we posted about 4% growth in the non-resource sector of our economy. Never since 1975 has this sector of economy posted 4% growth 4 years in a row. And we've posted 4% growth 4 years in a row, but I want us to ramp up this pace. When we launched the medium-term development plan 4, we said 1 million family must be employed. The definition of my employment, I said on Monday, differs completely with Australian National University or all the other universities in the world. They define employment as a paid job. I differ. It is not about paid job. It's about productive economic activity that earns the family or individual money to sustain their life in this day and age where this economy is functioning. And so agriculture has the greatest potential to quickly migrate our people into this economy and productive economy. This is where people can learn. And if you can understand and bring them out into actual cash flow productivity, then they're earning. Compounded with the savings they make in not paying their children's school fee, our people will be better placed at the very earliest. And so our focus on the primary industry has been second to none. If I could respectfully place my government against past government. Only other government that seriously tried this was a Winty government sometimes in the 80s or 90s. Gave strong focus on agriculture, but it got lost because he lived only for 2 years. And so in the swell of government formations, sometimes focus and priority get lost along the way. I want us, this generation, especially those of you who are out there looking for jobs, the graduating classes at our university and colleges, whilst you're equipped with basic knowledge, there are alternates and options out there, your plan, your tribe, your people that land. Why don't you be productive on that land? The Hago Koroka generations, the Saman Korowa generations, the Akapitan, Nyakwa generations, the Wamiri generations, I'm naming some of you, Mr. Boyka, what's our Geregere, of course, Geregere, but Coffee King in Canada. Pharaoh, that's a generation. Is Pharaoh here? No, you know that Pharaoh. They told me one time, he started out in 1970 or 69 with only 4 cents. And from there, he became what he is today. There's a guy in Port Moresby, who young company units, a guy in Port Moresby from Pangaea. And I'll call his name. He's now a real estate tycoon. In Port Moresby. He started in 1984 buying coffee and growing coffee in Pangaea. Not for oil and gas money. Today he owns more than 1,000 properties in Port Moresby alone. Bought himself a helicopter. Is now the owner of Alakar International Hotel. You think agriculture and coffee cannot make you become somebody? These are grade 3 dropouts. These are travel school. Foundation, not anything else. But nothing but determination and guts and hard work for a long time. Young company in the Great Maroc is not going to spoon feed you all the life. You can throw me out tomorrow, but you'll be in the same spot. You don't take this sort of advice. Land, energy, now you have intelligence, and with the accessibility of cyber, e-commerce and market out there, and with me now opening up, with our government opening up market with Asia nearby, we have more competitive advantage than many out there. You know, when we talk about loan, and I do appreciate we investing more. I want to talk about some things we are doing as a government so that those of you in the sector know exactly what is happening, and we also are able to plan. Phil and your team at Magnum Holdings, and all of you who are already in business. I just want you to plan, and I hear you clearly, loud and clear. The government must step out and partner. Part of the reason why I'm here this afternoon is to pick up your resolutions. Pick up your resolutions. Whether it's for market access, whether it's for law and order, whether it's for standard in the NACIA space, whether it's for science and research, I want to give you all my fullest support as the leader of our country that your time has arrived in the construction of Fiti and Amoreski and beyond. We must go back to the basis where God has given us land. And the fathers of our country had not alienated your land in 1975. It's a thank you to Somalia's generation forever. They had wisdom. They never alienated land from people in the construct of the country's constitution in 1975. It was within their reach. As construct of public policy in our country's constitution, they could have easily said, all land belongs to state. But no. They allowed land to be inherently part of the land structure and people. They settled on the 3% state-owned before 1975. The greatest asset companies have is your land and the land rights. It is just for us to ramp up productivity. And arriving on scene as government in 2019, we've launched out the price support policy. Unfortunately, Agriculture Department, I have to say, 6 years on, we're still slow in setting up the structure and the mechanisms to get the price policy mechanism working. Government intention has been there from politicians' perspective. Agriculture Department, 6 years on, I do not have it's not about the money. It's about a structure to deliver price support. I need a clear structure to deliver price support. We set up freight support. And we allocated some funding. Some possibly last year never came, but the intention was there, budget was there. How can I give you actual money when you have not given me yet? The policy mechanism, the structure to deliver the freight support. Is that okay? All right, in 2019, 2020, started allocating price support and freight support. We worked on Connect PNG. Yesterday I was shown a video in the tourism program last night. For the first time since 1975, we can drive past Hiddenberg Wall into California. Have you ever dreamt it will happen in a lifetime? No one thought California would be accessed by road. Today you can drive past through Kilga, Cabo also be and into California. 2 years ago, I drove one Christmas from Tari, Kurubu to Kikori, and Kikori to Erave to Kagua, right through all the way to Madera. The first time we can drive from Kikori into Southern Highlands. The opening of road. This Christmas, if not earlier, I want to do it before September. I want to drive from Ley to Port Moresby or Port Moresby. Never done it before. I'm building roads, places like Kantiba, places like Nyama, Asiki, Marawaka, Coffee, Step in the hinterlands, but they cannot come to the market. So we're building roads to this place. Our government overlaid another 2 billion kina on top, making 2-lane bridges, including the yellow 4-lane bridge. Run today, travel time to Hagen is much shorter than the 15 hours earlier. Today you do it under 8 hours. Cost of transportation, bringing product to the market here. As I said on Monday, almost all our ports are import ports, and not export ports. Yet we have enough land to make them become major on par in amount imported, amount exported, so that our productions are finding market also. And so we work in the infrastructure space, not just the roads for Connect PNG, but 6 major ports in our country, partnering Australia, as in faced with Kimbet Port, Debian Port, Oro Port, of course, Ley and Port Moresby. And then we will work on the we work and Vanimo. So these infrastructures have been worked upon, but it's totally in vain if productions in our country is not increased. And so the infrastructure has been worked upon. Police recruit has started. We're ramping up police. Some of you would have seen last week, Friday, we were getting rid of all the higher camps, making savings there, putting back, resourcing and equipping our police force. Recruitment is running as we speak. We want to build up to 10,000 policemen at the very earliest to deal with lawlessness in our country. I want to appreciate Steve's interest in the lower level justice administration. Steve, I want to tell you for the first time now, we've now brought in all village court magistrates into payroll so that they could be out there in our society, educating of land matters, and other matters that is prevalent in our community. Village courts and councillors are now put into consistent pay, pay system every fortnight. There'll be any money or they're any money now as we speak. So all these reforms are running in different elements, but all with the intention to make our economy with right ambience to make it work better. Someone pick up the copy of the new Income Tax Act 2025. We were operating in as far as our income tax was concerned in 1959 Act. And suppose we were born in 1959. It's historic. It belongs to the archives. Yes, we were operating on 1959 Act. We were operating on 1959 Act. I don't need to ask who is older than 1959 in any case. But we've made this new Income Tax Act that gives incentive in law. Incentive to agriculture and incentive to rural investment. Pick up this law. It's a very interesting law, good law. We passed, and if we need to improve this one, I am open to give more incentive, especially to rural investors and more so to agriculture, tourism, fisheries investors. So pick a copy of this law. It must assist you. I believe in lowering tax, giving incentives, and I took advice on certain tariff measures that must be done. And yesterday I bumped into some business community. They also looking at us in the next tariff conversations, and so our ears are open so that we protect and grow our local economy. I want to also say something we also are doing. We open Chinese market in a big way, never done. We open Chinese market in a big way, never done. But also we are producing agricultural product here, supply a local market. But the phytosanitary requirements of signing MOU with none other than President Xi Jinping himself at Beijing. Other countries were slow in giving us clearance for our products to hit the market. China opened up market big time. Today, coffee and other agricultural produce can go to China. We've opened up that market. The market of 1.4 billion people going 1.5 billion. It will be the biggest market in the world into the future. And so with PNG, thanks to our One China policy, the good relationship we have with Beijing, they have opened up our market access to China. Please, just work this space. And if you find any problem, Nakia, we're fixing up Nakia very, very soon. There's a paper before cabinet. Nakia leadership is being looked at. We'll strengthen with confidence in Nakia to make sure that it is producing or serving this space so that whatever we produce can be exported. A conversation with Singapore Prime Minister. He told me, my brother, we're buying chicken all the way from Brazil. Hello, did you get this? Chicken from Brazil. Now, where is Brazil and where is Singapore? When you're sleeping at night, they're flying over. Chicken in Singapore is very fresh every time. The chicken comes from Brazil. It's majorly part of the chicken. And so he asked me, just make sure the standard is Singapore standard, and we can buy from you too. So the market is nearby, our ASEAN marketplaces, our Asian marketplaces, and of course, our own traditional Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific marketplace. It is there for us. We're working through our bilateral partnerships to open biosecurity relationship like never before, and already China is open. There's an endless market there. Mr. President told me, Prime Minister, I am like a big ocean. When you talk about your coffee or you talk about anything, I'm like a big ocean. What does the ocean do? Makan orang ke ocean yang bisa pulau apa makan? Makan kue ke ocean in the pulau. He told me himself, I am like China is like a big ocean. Whatever you produce will not be enough. And he told me to partner Guangdong province. You know Guangdong province? He said, partner Guangdong province. They opened one flight now, Guangzhou to Port Moresby. Started off with one flight a week. Today we have 3 flights a week. 3 flights a week. That market is opening. You know Guangdong province? Come on, do your research. That province is bigger than Russia in the economic size. That province is bigger than Russia in the economic size. So the conversation on ocean, they're like ocean, meaning they could subsume anything we produce. It's right there for us. My brothers and sisters in agriculture, don't be discouraged. Get going, produce, supply local market and produce to the external market. To make this and to ensure that you are all maybe resourced, last night we launched Papua New Guinea's own national banking corporation. Originally started off as a subsidiary of NDB, but we now going commercial. NDB remains NDB, but it will now go commercial, meaning accepting deposits and also lending. And government will partner this bank. This bank has footprint right now already in 10 provinces. I call upon all the other provincial governments. The reason why this bank is in Tari right now is not because NDB built the branch, Tari district built the branch. We built a branch in 2018, 2017, 2016. My DSW from my district invested in building a modern branch, which now in Tari. I call upon all provincial governors. Must still worried on national politics. You have 5 years. You don't have 18 months grace period in the provincial ministry. The organic law of provincial and local level government gives you governors power to sit in your provinces and make critical policy intervention, including fixing village courts up, setting up village village court magistrates, reserve police, mobilizing land, allocating your livestock officers, agriculture officers, business development officers. They're already public servants. Hey, already. Why can you do not need to go down to this district and police? There are provincial structures in place already to address this. I call upon all provincial governors. You assist us. The banks, you can build a branch. The bank was given direction that all 21 provinces must have a branch. Going back to the PNGBC days, PNGBC was spoiled by politicians and their cronies in the late 90s. I told Minister Duma and the team last night, we will detach ourselves, allow the bank to run in its own way as a commercial bank, but government overlay with guarantee funding, so they could lend to agriculture and tourism businesses in a big way, and Papua New Guineans were out there. 3%. This is what Papua New Guinea, you know, man got name, and we got name, and we got ground. And it's in long house like no stuff. How can commercial bank of every man to and not give money to making business with that? So we're now having our own bank. We tried partnership with banks, that's one, but they are driven by profit also. And sometimes they cannot go out there fully. So people now the state-owned enterprises have now worked with central bank. They qualified, they have the banking license. So the bank is set up now. We roll out partnering, provincial governments are willing to partner. And for the 10 branches already there, it will be a bank that we will put in credit funds. As security, so that you borrow against security that we put, and we filed this already out in the last 3 years with our funds in the banks. I thank DSP and I thank NDB. They tried partnering with us, but we're starting this concept. We want to go big in a big way. So farmers out there who want to borrow 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, they have land already. They're in the business space. We can link them into doing this work, and these are something that is available. And I want agriculture department to work this space tightly, and we have credit facilities made available. For me, I'm looking at long-term lendings, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, intergenerational lending, accompanying families who own land, and they could be engaged in commercial agriculture, commercial livestock, and feeding the already existing livestock and agricultural business in our country through the extension programs. So I want to say, the intention is there, different public policies are running around and look into what we've already offered by way of resolutions. And Secretary, Dr. Lang, enough will talk of now. Let's get to work. I just want you to get to work. Enough will talk of planting things. Let's get to work. Government will consider all your resolutions and what we can do to unbundle those things that are free. The policy must be tweaked and we looked at. We will change those policies. I want you all to remain focused. Central Agriculture Department, 5 provincial governments who want to partner you. 5 provincial governments who want to partner you. 3 years ago, I passed, for an example, 5 million from Kenya to East Civic Provincial Government to scan and map out the entire East Civic plain, biggest plain in the country. That's 2021. 4 years later, East Civic Provincial Government keeps on rolling on the 5 million every year. Not coming up with a clear plan to unbundle the biggest plain we have in the country for agricultural industry. Mr. Secretary, find provincial governments who want to work. We partner them. We don't need to conquer the entire country, make 1 or 2 or 3 areas to work. And let's work it out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless each and every one of you. All kind of public staff, we are talking about more and less. God given ground. Papa Sumara in the Russian ground in 1975. Ground you holding. People put in money, the National Banking Corporation after night, people launching. Wear them up you can, you walk in walk, starting about beef line here, starting about bias, maybe start mixing country together, you can see money, the country too, for benefit of money when you mixing them inside. I have one young fellow, Fred here. Fred, I'm son of job in hand. Fred is a young fellow who heard about this whole of focus on agriculture. Today, he brings back into the country almost $100,000 every week or every 2 weeks. That's on coffee business. Coffee business. This is an example of what can be done for those who want to work hard. If you want to basically, tomorrow will still be around. You can make your life with life. I will not make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. James Marape, for your wonderful speech. We all agree that agriculture is the way to go to develop, have our economic development move ahead. So I'd like to say thank you again to you for your speech today. And I think our Prime Minister deserves another applause. Mr. Prime Minister, I only want one thing to ask you, and that is, why is it that Tomodachi Airport was opened some 2 years ago? And where's the stumbling block to have it open? So if we want to have things go from here to southern China, Guangzhou, as you said, it'll go from Leh to there. I'm sorry, sir.
The intention is there, mid to long term intention is there. The airport will serve export market, especially for tuna also and fisheries, but also agriculture. So intention is there, we just have to get a supply chain there and the economics of running in terms of flight out of this one. Conversation here, I don't want all of you to be discouraged. The government intention is there. We just have to get it all structured properly. Private sector involved. I subscribe to private sector doing it. Government just become regulator with a deregulated environment. Things like agriculture secretary and minister, they regulate much of the stumbling blocks without compromising standards. And let's encourage the private sector to grow. If government can help with incentives or others, we on standby to assist. Because in this one, when we do it properly, it kills many birds with one stone. Local employment, export earnings, import replacement. This agriculture has solution to many of our countries' wars today. So, Big Mary, Boss Mary, come up. Tomorrow, see you put in China and start. Well, China is down, but the supply chain. And we want to start off earlier with a flight to Cairns or Brisbane. Later on, we're working Tokua. Those connections will be there. But you may get in 1 or 2 international flight outside of Australia past time. But long term, we want to target Japan for our tuna market, daily out of Leh, as well as our Asian market for our tourists and products. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Let me talk from Leh to Manila, it only takes 3 hours. I mean, for you to fly from Port Moresby to go to Manila, take 4.5 to 5 hours. Also, we are on the northern part going to Exasia. And if you want to have for us to uplift chicken from Ley to Singapore, Singapore. Thank you. Um, Thank you for your time today. We would like to ask Miss Jane, before I give her this, to have a little prayer of lunch. I'd like to say thank you again to the panel, the Prime Minister, and the two honorable minister, and our three private sector and secretary. Thank you today for the panel and the discussion. So Jane, I'd like you to have a short prayer or lunch, and we'll allow the Prime Minister to add something to it.
Thank you. Let's have a word of prayer. Thank you, Father, we come before you. We thank you for gathering here today. We thank you for those who participated, and we thank you for wisdom and knowledge. Lord, we pray for the food they deserve. We thank you for the blessings that come to them. May you enrich our body and protect us from all harm and danger. We pray for the people of this nation and the leadership of this nation. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Sorry if I could have your attention. I was just saying, I have another last appointment at 5 this afternoon. Take farewell to the Australian High Court to Papua New Guinea. And so I have to be back in Port Moresby, but my heart and soul and thought is with all of you. With all of you. Each one, the place for PPF, we can make that for our people. To the private sector, we will heed your resolutions. To the public sector, let's work with them. Let's make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, remain standing. I think you're going to take the, go back to home, sorry.
Thank you. Keep on working, keep on working.
Thank you, sir. Itulah sampai hutan. Mungkin lu sudah telah mau.